Welcome to Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And today we are talking exclusively about how the Dolphins knocked the Patriots out of the playoffs. I'm kidding.
We're not talking about that.
I'm kidding. I'm very happy. I almost said welcome to a Patriots-free edition of Sideline Judgment, but I didn't.
You've already jinxed that. So.
I've already jinxed it. No, but in all seriousness, today is a very, very, very special episode. We are going to be going through every single bowl game to date. There's only one left, and that is the Natty, and we will be talking about that and previewing it as well. And then we're also going to go ahead and start off with our quick hits. Tyler, we had another really big, important day in college football happened back in December since our last episode, and that is early signing day has happened, Tyler. As you know, early signing day was instituted, 3 years ago, I want to say?
I think last year, I think it's only 2 years ago.
Okay, so 2 years ago was the first early signing day, and this has basically become National Signing Day.
Yeah, it's just, this is National Signing Day, and then there's Makeup Signing Day later.
Exactly, yeah. Or for people who just really, really aren't sure, then they go ahead and sign traditionally as before in February. Or, if you're Georgia 5-star running backs, then you just kind of decide, you know what, I may not want to sign and want to go somewhere else because Jimbo drops a bag. But we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yes. Let's real quick, we'll run down the top 25 for the 2020 football recruiting rankings.
Yes, we will.
And things have changed since then. We have had added commits to teams. But generally, this is where they all fall.
Right.
Nationally.
And we're going 247, right?
Yes, I'm going to put up 247 composite, sports composite. Number 1, Clemson. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Georgia. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Shocker.
Number 4, Ohio State.
Georgia at 3.
Calm down, all right? Number 4, Ohio State. Number 5, LSU. Number 6, Texas A&M. Number 7, Florida.
Woo.
Number 8, Auburn. Number 9, Oklahoma. Number 10, Texas. Number 11, Michigan. Number 12, Notre Dame. Number 13, Oregon. Number 14, Penn State. Number 15, Washington. Number 16, Tennessee. Number 17, South Carolina.
Wow.
Number 18, Miami. Number 19, North Carolina.
That's my boy Mac. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Number 20, Nebraska.
Scott Frost can recruit.
Number 21, Florida State.
But 0 offensive linemen. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, are you serious?
No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say. 22, Stanford. 23, Kentucky. 24, Arizona State. And 25, Wisconsin. And honorable mention to the 26th spot, Georgia Tech.
Our Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
Our Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
Yes.
So any takeaways from the top 25?
Can we get the Gator thing out of the way first?
Let's talk about that.
Let's go there because my heart wants to go there first. My brain wants to go there first, and then we can do the logical talks afterwards. Florida is ranked 7th in the country with 0 5-stars. Do you understand how difficult it is to be ranked so high, to be such a highly ranked team if you have 0 5-stars?
It's pretty impressive if you ask me.
Yeah, and that just goes to show the strength of this class. Now, easily the strength of this class lies in Florida Gatorade Player of the Year, and to name today, Max Prep's All-American, meaning he's one of the, I believe they pick 3 per position, so he's one of the 3 best at his position in the country. Broward County's own Derek Wingo, outside linebacker. He played in the Army it's now called the Adidas All-American game. In the Adidas All-American game out in San Antonio, Texas, he balled. He's a phenomenal player, and he definitely headlines the class. We also have Gervin Dexter, defensive tackle out of Lake Wales, Florida. This man is 6'6.5", 286, Tyler. He's the number 3 defensive tackle in the country.
He's probably going to be playing early.
Oh, yeah. He's a player that's going to get some playing time next year. For sure. For sure. Those are the headliners.
Additionally, what doesn't get factored into this for Florida, it's been a good offseason so far for player acquisition for Florida. They got a number 7 recruiting class. They're basically kind of, at this point, they've signed on early signing day. The Gators didn't have a great day because they didn't really flip anybody that people thought they might. But as has been the case under Dan Mullen, Florida didn't lose anybody. Every player that Florida no one flipped away from Florida, basically. Right. They signed most of their players. Florida at this point, I think, is pretty much mathematically locked into a top 10 class. There's some chance it could improve. It could, fall down depending on what other teams do as well. But at this point, mathematically, it's going to be pretty hard for them to fall out of the top 10, which is pretty good. Like, that's what you want.
Right.
It's not quite the level of the top 5 yet, but 7's pretty good. On top of that, Florida has also gotten the transfer of Lorenzo Lingard, former 5-star running back from Miami, made official today.
Native of just north of Orlando. I forget the exact city, but just north of Orlando. Grew up a Gator fan.
Yeah.
Important
and then additionally, Justin Shorter, the former 5-star Penn State wide receiver, is rumored to be transferring to Florida. It looks like a heavy Florida lead.
It does.
In Gainesville, but he's not been made official, so I don't want to...
He was in Gainesville on his official visit 2 weeks ago, and here we are January 7th, which means that at the end of 2019, he was taking an official visit. I think I want to go ahead and just grab you from there on the transfers and just say that this has been a strong transfer offseason for Coach Mullen, because if you look at the players that are transferring, like you mentioned, Jordan Pouncey, like you mentioned, Lorenzo Lingard, former University of Miami running back, 5-star. We're talking about Penn State wide receiver Justin Shorter, former 5-star, was actually, I think, a top 10 player in the country 2 years ago when he committed to Penn State. We also have to mention Brenton Cox, who actually was a transfer from last year, applied for eligibility. Somehow, I don't even think the NCAA answered us.
So it turned out that they did answer, but it was not made public.
Okay. There we go.
Because I think a lot of that had to do with Mullen kind of not wanting other teams to know whether or not he was going to play.
Okay. To keep it a mystery.
It doesn't matter. At this point, he sat for a year, so he'll be eligible next year.
So he'll be eligible next year. He's an outside linebacker, former 5-star, coming from Georgia, of all places, which is a very interesting transfer for a player who hadn't played at Georgia and decided to come and transfer, already sat out the year, good to go. And then Noah Keeter, another outside linebacker, to pull up some more depth there, coming from UCLA out in California. So 4 transfers, 4 transfers with the potential of a 5th and the potential of 3 former 5-stars to be transferring into the program. Not too shabby for Mullen.
Yeah. Additionally, big thing for Florida's offseason acquisition. Florida is able to announce that Marco Wilson, the cornerback, and Trayvon Grimes will be returning next year. They could have gone pro. They both have NFL, aspirations, and they both have NFL bodies and NFL workload. But Trayvon Grimes doesn't have quite the production yet, but he's got the talent. He's got the talent. Look at him, and he looks like an NFL player.
And he's got the physicality. He's got the.
And I think
everything.
With another year now, with less receiver depth, he will emerge as the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big deal for Florida too. It's been a good offseason for Florida talent and acquisition. I think the Gators I personally was of the personal belief that Florida next year was going to be taking, as a team, would take a slight step back, but had an easier schedule. So we might be looking at the same type of season. Now I'm thinking it could be a little bit better.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Additionally, so that's Florida. Let's anything else you want to talk about Florida?
I want to ask you one question, and I think we should both answer before we move on from Florida. Can you give me one player that you are excited to see, and you think we already talked about Derek Wingo and Gervon Dexter probably making an impact next year, but what's one player that you are actually really excited to see develop through the Mullen system, and hopefully will be a name that we talk about week in, week out, maybe a year or 2 years from now?
I'm excited for the safety duo of Rashad Torrance and Travis Johnson.
Took it out of my mouth.
Because on the defense, that has been the weakest link of the Florida defense for the past few years. Not that it's been necessarily terrible, but it has been very clearly the weakest link. And I think those are 2 very high-quality players that could be really good for Florida. So hopefully, that's what I'm most excited to see. I want to see how quickly they can get on the field, what impact they can make.
Okay. Before we move on to mine, I just want to point out there's been a lot of criticism of the Florida program for not recruiting running backs and not getting depth. I'd like to point out Dameon Pierce is still going to be there. Everyone seems to forget Malik Davis exists. I don't know why, but everyone seems to forget that my boy, my favorite Gator on the roster, people forget he exists. He's on there. And then we also have to see if there's a rumor Lorenzo Lingard is going to be granted an immediate eligibility waiver, and that's because unfortunately his father is on dialysis, and so Florida is much closer to his home than Miami is, and they're thinking that maybe they could apply for the medical hardship for the family waiver, the same waiver that granted Trayvon Grimes the ability to play immediately. So we're hoping that goes through. You never, always, hoping his father's always doing well. Family and the health of our players' family members comes first. but it could be something that allows us and allows Lorenzo to play immediately. Just wanted to point that out with the running back depth. There is depth. I think the player I'm most excited about, apart from Derek Wingo, apart from Gravon Dexter, who headlined the class, it's got to be AR-15, right? This is a story. This is a 30 for 30 waiting to happen, right? Kid from Gainesville, Florida, goes to Eastside High, a 4-star quarterback prospect, commits to Florida like 2 years ago. They do the QB1 series on Netflix, follows him through, and he early enrolls, and he is just all in on the program. He's been a Gator since birth. He is a Gator. He will be a Gator. And it's just going to be so interesting to see him in a quarterback room with Trask, with Emery, and just fleshing out. He'll probably take a red shirt this year, maybe.
I doubt he plays.
I doubt he plays as well, but it's going to be nice to see him in 2 years battling with Emery to see who that number one.
He's arguably the most important recruit because just quarterbacks are that important.
Right.
It's the simple matter of fact.
Yeah.
And elite quarterbacks especially are that important. And he is the type of caliber player that could be elite with the right training if everything breaks right. So I'm excited to see that too. That's one that we won't see for a while, probably most likely.
Right.
But yeah.
Now, and I think it's I'm sorry, I know I'm running on this, but I think it's very, 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 very important that we land players from our own backyard, especially in Gainesville. We do not want another Ralph Webb situation happening in Gainesville, where a quarterback goes to another SEC school, or even worse, another school in the state of Florida that's not Florida, and they come into the swamp and they end up balling on us, and we just look ridiculous for not being able to recruit within our own zip code, you know?
Yeah.
So, very important we got that. All right, that's enough Florida talk. Forget the Florida talk.
So, do you have any takeaways regarding the rankings outside of that? We mentioned the Carolinas at 17 and 19.
Yes, and I think I think more importantly there is Mac Brown has entered the recruiting chat. People were talking about Mac Brown not being able to go ahead and not connecting with players, not going out there.
See, I'm going to push back on that because that was the one thing that I thought that everybody was agreeing that he would do.
See, no, but here's the thing.
See, that's what I heard. I heard that Mac Brown was like, well, he's going to recruit because he's always recruited, but like, can he actually win on the field?
But here's the thing. He's always recruited. Yes, he's been at North Carolina. He's a Carolina guy. But he's always, and for the most part, recruited at Texas with Texas money. Here he is at North Carolina, which is a basketball school. And here's the thing. Bag dropping has changed. And I want to get this out of the way right now. Every single school bag drops. If you think your school doesn't bag drop, you're wrong. Okay? Every school bag
Everybody
drops.
cheats, and once you understand that and accept that, it doesn't really become that big of a deal.
No, it doesn't. It's just a matter of who are the dummies that decide to tell players, not brief players, so that when they're interviewed when they early enroll, they say, "I went to Georgia because they said that they would pay for my kid's daycare." Okay, so make sure don't have a school that does that. Georgia. So
I gotta calm down.
Okay, sorry. No, but my thing with Mac Brown is that I didn't expect him to recruit so well out of the gate. I think this successful year is definitely an impact. They've gone 6-6. They won a bowl game. They clearly have a quarterback for at least another 2 years because Sam Howell is.
That's I think all of those factors I think factor into this because I think he affects like he how do I say this? He connects with kids. It's just that it's the trajectory.
Right.
He's not having to tell them come in and I promise you we'll make it better. He's like, look, we're on the right path. You can tell that we're on the right path. We got a quarterback. We're playing one-score games with the defending national champion. So yeah, I think
they have a great class.
The thing that so going to South Carolina, the thing that like boggles me about South Carolina's class, one, it's very high. Also, they have a 5-star commit. He didn't sign. But it was a commit that they flipped from Clemson. Now, in fairness, this player is from Columbia. I forgot their name. I'm trying to find it real quick.
His name is Jordan Birch.
Jordan Birch. That's what he plays on Will Muschamp's. He plays on Will Muschamp's son's high school team.
So he drops bag. So he's a bag catcher.
I mean, yes.
So let me give you this, Tyler. I'm going to give you something, okay? And I need you to answer honestly. Why will a 6'5", 275-pound, 5-star, strong side defensive end, who is the number 5 player in the country, the number 2 player at his position, and the number 1 player in the state of South Carolina choose South Carolina over Clemson?
Because Will Muschamp can coach defense.
I'm sorry, I misheard? I heard you say Will Muschamp is a good bag dropper. Is that what I heard? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. It's synonymous.
It's synonymous. It does help that he's from Columbia, though.
Oh, no, there's a lot of factors that go into this. And, it's also one of those situations of, do you want to be part of the wheel at Clemson, or do you want to be the man at South Carolina?
Yeah, it's true.
So, you never know what kids want.
You gotta realize, these players are the best players where they're from. They all have egos. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they all have some form and some size of an ego.
To be a high-level recruit for college football, it means you probably were the greatest athlete
in your
school area.
Yeah.
Not just in your school, in
your
school district.
Unless you go to a factory like St. Thomas or a factory like John Bosco or stuff like that, then
So a couple other things to talk about. The highest rated Pac-12 class is 13 at Oregon.
Yeah.
Washington is 15. Is the second highest rated.
Mm-hmm. And then Stanford at 22.
You got to be doing better, man.
I think the Pac-12. Listen, I was listening to.
Did you see where USC is? USC isn't even in the top 50.
Dude, USC's in the 60s, right? Hold on. I have to hit load more before I get to USC. That's a problem.
Despicable.
You know who has a better recruiting class than USC?
Vanderbilt, Kansas. Arkansas, Duke, Baylor,
Cincinnati.
I can't believe it. Oregon State has a higher rated recruiting class.
Kansas has a higher recruiting class.
No, that's fine. It's Les Miles. What did you expect?
That's true.
But Oregon State, by the way, Kansas State is one spot ahead of Kansas.
Love to see it.
You love the rivalry.
Yeah.
Ole Miss down at 44 with only 17.
Our Iowa State Cyclones at 43.
Now they're OKGs, man. They're our kind of guys.
Yeah.
It's rankings don't matter. But beyond that, Pac-12's got to be recruiting a little bit better. But it is nice to see that two of the powers, if you look at their classes, they both got 5 stars. They both got a lot of 4 stars. Mm-hmm. It does look like, especially under Jimmy Lake, we already know Mario Cristobal is raising the recruiting ceiling at Oregon. And Washington seems, with the Jimmy Lake hire, poised to at least keep up.
Yeah, agreed.
Because actually, until Oregon signed a recruit got a commit, I think, this last weekend or so, Washington was the number 1 class in the conference.
Yeah.
Beyond that, just a couple other things. Just the 20 through 26 is mind-boggling to me.
Why so?
Nebraska at 20.
Well, okay, but let's...
I know they're a brand. I know, but like...
Well, I wouldn't even say... Here's the thing, though. We have to reconsider what a brand is in recruiting. Because we're not talking about kids that have seen... Kids that Scott Frost are recruiting know Scott Frost as the coach. They have no idea that he led Nebraska to a national title.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get it. It's just like basically when... It's one of those theories where like you are... After a certain period of time, that's what you are.
Right.
Nebraska did have that one of the greatest runs in history, an absolutely amazing legacy, have an absolutely amazing history. But Nebraska has been a middling Big Ten team for 10 years.
Yeah.
And the thing is, kids today's world, that's all they know them as.
Exactly. And they're not going to go out of their way. Now, I'm looking at the recruiting class here, and they got the number 1 player in the state of Kansas. They got the number 1 player in the state of Nebraska, as they should have. And then everything else, they got the number 1 player in the state of Texas. I want you to realize that. Like,
what?
Yes, they got Omar Manning, who's the number 1. He's the number 2 wide receiver in the country. The number 2 player in the country, and the number 1 wide receiver and the number 1 player in the state of Texas. Like, they're going out and recruiting. They got the number 1. They got the top 2 wide receivers in the country, Tyler. Alante Brown and Omar Manning, 1 and 2 respectively.
That can't be right.
Yep, I'm telling you. I'm looking at it right here on 247. You look at national 1, position 1, state 1. They're recruiting, man. Here's the thing. This to me is going to be a make or break class for Scott Frost. And we're going to really know by next year, or the year after, I would like to say, if Scott Frost can really coach at this level, or if he just rode the coattails of a good run.
This is the first time that he is, I think, facing a true adversity. In the sense that at UCF, he's only been a head coach for, I think, 4 years.
4 years, that's it, yeah.
At UCF, he came taking over an 0-12 season. No one expected them to be good. And his first year, they were 6-7. Like, they still were, like, better. but there wasn't this pressure. What UCF is now is because Scott Frost got them to that point.
Correct.
The undefeated season, no one was expecting him to be that good.
Yeah, no.
At Nebraska, they expect more than what he's been giving them.
Especially,
so we'll see if he can. We'll see if he can override that pressure.
Exactly, especially being a Nebraska guy.
I'm just excited to see Georgia Tech at 26.
Me too. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. I'm very excited to see Jeff Collins with some talent. It's going to be great. Anything else you want to talk about recruiting wise? I'm looking here at Miami. Miami only has 19 commits, dude. Like that's not a strong class.
I mean, it's pretty good. Being 18 is pretty good for having 19 commits, but it's not looking that great. I think it's just because Miami needs some proof of concept. I think.
Yeah.
Which they just hired a new offensive coordinator, Rhett Lastly from SMU. That could be really good for them.
That's a good hire for them.
I think that moved them in a direction that they've been straying away from. That I think they need to at least try.
Right.
So that if that works out, if they can stabilize some quarterbacks, stabilize the offense, I think that will help. But Manny Diaz has got to figure it out this year.
Miami Diaz, you gotta really figure it out this year, and I'm telling you, there's going to be heads on spikes, because when North Carolina has a better recruiting class than you, not people in Miami are not going to take that happy.
Last thing, this if it holds, this will be Clemson's first number 1 class ever. Really? Yeah. So Clemson has not actually ever had a consensus number 1 class.
Huh.
And that's the thing. Clemson was built in a way that is different than Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State were built. Clemson was built off top 15 recruiting classes that they didn't miss on any players. And then they got like 1 or 2 elite players at the important positions: quarterback, defensive line. They developed them really well. Deshaun Watson is just that type of player that elevated the program.
Right.
And then they started getting into top 10 recruiting classes. In the last 3 years, they've had more of like a top 7 to 5 range. And this year is the first year where they've had it the number 1 ranked recruiting class. They've got 6 5-stars.
Yeah, I'm looking at them here.
Absolutely insane.
That's incredible. One coming from Duval.
Hell yeah.
Fred Davis is second.
All right. Let's move on. We spent a lot of time on this, as we should. But
we did. This is recruiting is exciting, and recruiting, it's nice to see fresh starts with your teams and all that stuff and all that jazz. All right, let's go through a few quick hits things now that we've done our early signing day stuff. We got to talk about Tua.
The floor is yours. Floor is yours, sir.
All right, so this past Monday on January 6th, we were recording on the 7th. You will be hearing this on the 8th at the earliest. January 6th, Tua came out in the drip, might I say, wearing a clean Hawaiian shirt
beautiful.
I'm convinced that Hawaiian shirts on Hawaiians look better than Hawaiian shirts on anyone else. He comes out with Nick Saban.
I hope you realize what you just said.
What?
I hope you realize what you just said.
Hawaiian shirts look better on Hawaiians than they do on anyone else.
Durr.
I'm gonna move on. Tua goes out with Nick Saban. He announces that he is declaring for the 2020 NFL Draft. I'm nervous.
Round of applause for the young man.
Let's go with the important
I think this was the correct decision. There's only 2 reasons that you should go back. Considering how he's done everything that he can on the field to prove his worth. We know that he's a good quarterback. Next year's draft class is equally stacked at the quarterback position.
Even more stacked in my opinion.
I don't think you gain anything from going back. But the only reason he should have come back is if, and we don't know this, and they might not even know this, if the injury was truly that bad that he wasn't going to be able to really participate in anything. And even then, I would still declare.
Well, I would declare
some team in the first round is going to take a chance on him.
Some team in the top 10, especially. I think a big deal had to do with how the top 10 ended up. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But the only other reason would be if he wanted to run one back with his boys for a national championship. And I know that we thought that would have been people would have said that was stupid. I would have understood it because there's nothing like doing something with your team. But I think he made the right decision. He declared for the draft. And you, as a Dolphin fan, now have to live with this.
I'm anxious, man. I'm anxious because when you look at the draft order, you got Cincinnati number 1. They're going to take Joe Burrow. And by all means, take Joe Burrow. Then you got the Washington football team, who They better take Chase Young. They better take Chase Young.
Does Dan Snyder still on the team?
He does still on the team.
I'm not going to bet on anything.
All right, well, but the rumor around town, and you know that I'm here and people talk, the rumor around town is that he is handing over like complete player personnel control to Ron Rivera.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay, but you know they're not hiring a GM until after the draft.
That could actually be good for them because then the coach has more input in.
That's what the idea is. So,
all right.
I mean, well, Ron Rivera is a smart coach. He's going to take Chase Young. Number 3 is where I get nervous because there sits the Detroit Lions, who have Matthew Stafford at quarterback. He is 32 years old. He is coming off of his first significant injuries in his career. And if you look at the numbers, he was actually having the most productive season of his career up to this point until he got injured. Yeah. It was actually, statistically, it was going to be his best year ever. I
want to say real quick, you could argue that the Lions and or the Chargers, I would say probably, and maybe the Patriots, but like are the most ideal spots if like Tua could probably pick a spot. You got established veterans that won't be there very long, probably. Maybe not with Matthew Stafford because we're not really sure how long the ceiling is on his career. But Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady are in the twilight.
They are. They are.
So there's an intrigue at the Lions position from they could draft him, but more so from they could trade down.
They could. And that's where it gets to worry because we get Detroit at 3, right? Let's come back to Detroit. The Giants at 4. Gettleman, I think I was listening to a pod. Gettleman has never, ever, ever traded out of the first round. And he won't again because he just drafted his franchise quarterback, Daniel Jones. So he won't take him. And then sits Miami at 5. Behind Miami, you got the Chargers at 6, Carolina at 7. And then I think those are the 2 that really give me concern because Arizona, they got Kyler Murray. Jacksonville, you guys aren't going to trade up for a quarterback.
I doubt we'll take a quarterback. I doubt we trade up. I doubt we trade up for a quarterback. I think that this next year they're going to see what they have in Gardner Minshew.
I agree.
Now that Tom Coughlin is gone and Gardner Minshew is going to be the starter.
Agreed.
They're probably going to see what they get out of him for a year if it's worth it. Because in my opinion, the draft class for quarterbacks is so stacked next year that if you're in a situation that the Jaguars are in where you might be able to win a lot with this guy, maybe you don't know for sure. I would just wait a year.
Exactly, and so that's why the teams that worry me are Detroit. They could possibly just pull the trigger. Or the Chargers in Carolina maybe put together some packages to trade up to 3 to take him, knowing that Miami, we want him. Or we are highly strongly considering him at the very least. The Chargers, like you said, have an aging Phillip Rivers. He's in his twilight. And the Panthers' quarterback situation is kind of up in the air. Kyle Allen started a bunch of games and then
Wasn't as good.
Will Grier was just thrown to the fires and burned alive. He was like Ramsey when they killed Ramsey with the dogs. They just tore him up. It was ugly to watch. And then you have Cam Newton, who it's rumored that this is going to be his last. This was his last year in Carolina. You know, there's kind of unrest. They got rid of Ron Rivera, and I think this is an important.
It's looking
moment.
Like a clean slate moment.
And I think this is an important moment too. I know this was later on in the pod, but we're going to bring it in now to tell you that Matt Rule, coach at Baylor, has agreed with the Panthers to become their head coach. This is a reported 7-year, $60 million contract. This is NBA money, my guy. $60 million contract that could be worth as much as $70 million with incentives.
I wanted to quote Tampa Bay Trey, Gator alumni Trevor Sikkema, John Gruden changed the game.
John Gruden changed the game.
For coach contracts. He changed the game.
Yeah, with his monster deal 2 years ago.
Where do these people get all this money?
Oil? I don't know. Anyway, so I think it's important to notice Matt Rule could come in and say, listen, I've been in the college football world this whole time. Tua's a dog. Let me get Tua. And he may say, this is what we need to do.
Though, Matt Rule's the type of guy that would also be like, I'm going to trade back and just take Jalen Hurts.
He might. He also might do that, and I would love for him to do that. But that's why I'm concerned, because these teams could pull the ammunition, pull the trigger, and take Detroit's third pick. I'm going to let you say it before I talk about Miami's picks.
Well, my thing with Matt Rule is that I think at this point, and I have no reason to back this up other than just my own thinking. I think that Matt Rule is going to pick a quarterback in this draft class. I have no clue which one and where. But I just get a feeling that he's going to, because he's coming in. They're probably not going to sign anyone in free agency. There's not really anyone to sign.
No, there's not really.
Unless they want to take Nick Foles off our hands. They're more than welcome. But I think beyond that, Cal Allen was okay. You're probably going to keep him. I doubt they get rid of Will Grier. He's on a really cheap contract. They're probably moving on from Cam Newton. So I think that he will pick a quarterback. I just don't know where, who, when. So, yeah.
So I think, as stated, Trevor Sycamore on his podcast did say that Miami, we do have the most.
Miami can outbid
capital.
Anyone in this draft.
We can. But here's my fear. We took the Philadelphia 76ers tank, trust the process, fully embraced it. And the whole idea of that is gather as many picks as possible, because the more darts you can throw at the board, the more chances you're going to get something that sticks. And if we package a bunch of things up to move up 2 spots, and it's going to be a high asking price if the Chargers, the only way that we move up to 3 is if the Chargers or Carolina are going to move up to 3. If they don't, then we sit pretty at 5, and Detroit's probably going to take what's the cornerback out of Ohio State?
Jeffrey Okudah.
Okudah, because they need safety.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit is very capable of just staying there and picking a player that they need.
And I would love that. Exactly. And we can stay and take our pick at Miami, or take our pick at 5. But that's the concern, where I don't want to get rid of so much of our draft capital. We have 3 first-rounders this year. We have 2 first-rounders next year. We have 2 second-rounders next year. And we have 3 second-rounders this year. Like, we have the capital to move, but those are a lot of top 100 picks in a stacked wide receiver class. Next year, the possibility, if we don't get Tua, the possibility of getting a really good quarterback next year, a bunch of good offensive linemen in next year's draft. There's a lot of good players that are coming out these next couple years.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree, but I will say that, and this is my thing with it, it's different for a quarterback.
I agree.
I don't, and I'm just of the thing, like, I don't care, because you're not going to remember those second-round picks that you packaged away if Tua is good.
But what if Tua's, and I'm not saying Tua's not good, but what if Tua's injury stuff comes back up?
That is, a player getting injured or a player being bad is a risk you run with literally every draft pick that you have. There is no guarantee with any draft pick. Now, I will say, like, we're going to find out more as the combine comes and as teams talk to him, the severity of the injury. Yeah. Like, there's just so much we don't know yet.
When each individual team doctor goes and
also, he's only about 3-4 months. We have to get to that 3 to 4 month window away from surgery where we can really see how it's healing, how the hip is healing. He has an injury label, and that isn't going to change at all.
Yeah.
And that is something that the Miami has to decide whether or not they are okay with dealing with. But it's a matter of if you've reached, that's just a do we draft him or not?
Yeah.
And if you get to that point, I'm just of the personal belief that if you believe that this guy is your franchise quarterback, do whatever it takes.
I just think,
in my opinion, quarterbacks are so freaking important.
I agree, and I just thank God that I don't have to make that decision, because honestly, draft day, that Thursday night,
I love the draft.
Oh my gosh, I will already have finished with my musical by then, so I will just Thursday night. I'll probably come home. I may take like a cycling or yoga class beforehand just to get the energy out. Come home, I'll say, Mom, I'm gonna get chicken wings. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to watch this draft, and it's either going to be the best day of my Dolphin year, the best day of the year for me, or the worst day of the year for me. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it happens.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about with the draft? We will be doing a lot of draft coverage over the next couple of months.
Yeah, the draft is the intersection of college football and professional football, so we love to talk about it during this time of the year. No, nothing else in the draft. Let's move on to the last bit of quick hits that have not been very quick, because a lot has happened since we last talked.
Hey, listen, we talked all about early signing day and these quick hits. That was a segment on its own. I don't know why we called it.
That could have been a whole episode. And
exactly.
But last bit for quick hits. The coaching carousel is not done. Joe Moorhead is out at Mississippi State. He said a couple weeks ago they would have to drag his Yankee ass out of there. Looks like they did.
They cut him a check and said, "Thank you, goodbye."
And thoughts on this? I'm surprised. It's one of those things where, like, The reason they probably fired him is a lot to do with the fact that in the weeks after the Egg Bowl, in preparation for the bowl game, Willie Gay,
the old piss.
Yes, the old piss. The piss and miss.
The piss and miss. I like that better. The piss and miss.
The old piss and miss.
That's even better. Great job, Tyler. Well done. I'm
on a roll right now. But in a bowl practice, Joe Moorhead, Willie Gay, one of the linebackers on Mississippi State, a really good player, reportedly punched the starting quarterback, freshman Garrett Schrader, which ended up. Did you not hear about this?
No, I didn't. It may have.
You're me a face.
I haven't heard about this.
Garrett Schrader, Willie Gay punched Garrett Schrader after an altercation in practice. Mm-hmm. Garrett Schrader had like a massive black eye and was unable to play in the bowl game because of that. And then there was no disciplinary action against Willie Gay. And on top of all this, and we'll talk about it in just a second, but on top of all this, they lost the game. And it was just. It's one of those things where, like, it's very clear after the last 2 years that it wasn't really working in Starkville. Mm-hmm. It wasn't clicking. I believe in Joe Moorhead as a smart football guy, an offensive mind. I've got a lot of thought. If he could, maybe scoot on up to Washington, who has an open offensive coordinator position right now.
That's true.
He can have any offensive coordinator position he wants right now in the country. But because he is a smart football mind, I think he's a good dude. But I don't think that it was fitting at Mississippi State. And I think Mississippi State, kudos to them in the sense that they noticed a problem and decided to do something about it. Mm-hmm. I will say you gotta have a plan in place because they haven't hired anyone since, mm-hmm. and it doesn't look like it's going very well.
This is like if you're dating someone and you know that it's just not going to work out in the end, but you really enjoyed that person and you were really just holding out hope for a while, and then they do something and you're like, okay, I just can't be with this person. You end it, but then there's like not a plan of like, okay, so like, what am I going to do now? It's like you did that, but you live together. So it's like, oh, shoot.
You went through it was a passionate moment of breaking up.
Exactly.
But you have not evaluated how you're going to go through your life post-breakup.
You got to realize how you're going to get your piano out of that living room before they destroy it because they're mad at you. You know what I mean? Like,
how are you going to get all your sweaters back?
How are you going to get those hoodies back? Because those hoodies aren't yours for a while. Now they're yours again. Joe Moorhead.
These are the questions. Joe Moorhead, don't give those hoodies back.
No, Mississippi. Yeah, exactly. Keep those hoodies, Joe Moorhead.
Those hoodies. Hey, they fired you.
Yeah.
Keep your hoodies.
That's your severance.
Take them to Washington. But yeah, we'll be talking about it as soon as we find out who Mississippi State hires.
Correct.
One of the top candidates is Todd Grantham, Florida's defensive coordinator.
And if that is something that happens, we will have a segment on it on the pod, mostly about who we think should replace him at defensive coordinator and who the options are from the Florida perspective, but also how he fits in Starkville as the head coach and not the defensive coordinator.
I don't know how I'd feel about it. It would make sense just because of continuity. He's been there before. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things where, as a Florida fan, you want your program to be in a position where your assistant coaches are being poached for head coaching jobs.
That's a good thing.
That is ultimately a good thing. Mm-hmm. That means you're doing something right.
Right.
But that is something we will see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
We will cross that bridge when we get to it. Tyler, we're at 39 minutes here. We got to go through all these bowl games, and we got a natty to talk about, my friend. So let's give it a little crack the back stretch. All right, you ready to go? Ready to go in on these bowl games?
All right, let's do this.
All right, time to go in on these bowl games. We're going to go in order of the bowls, just like we picked them. Tyler and I are going to say if we got the pick correct, if we got the pick incorrect, and if we would like to say something, we would say something. We won't say something for all of them. But some games had some cool storylines. Like, I didn't watch the Mississippi State game. I knew they lost. But you're going to have to talk to me like how that story infiltrates into how the game went, and I would love to hear that. So let's go ahead and start off. We're starting off with the Makers Wanted Bahamas Bowl. That was December 20th, the kickoff bowl season. Buffalo playing Charlotte. Buffalo wins 31-9 out in the Bahamas. Tyler, I got this game wrong. I picked Charlotte.
I got it correctly.
I just want to say Charlotte may have lost the game, but they won the trip. They won the division.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I mean, you get to go play a bowl game in the Bahamas and spend a week in the Bahamas. So, I don't blame them for not showing up.
No, and getting out of North Carolina weather for a week, we're fine. Same with Buffalo. Shout out to them. They got out of Buffalo weather and won the bowl game.
They're probably like, can we make this bowl game last forever?
All right, the next game that day, the Tropical Smoothie Cafe Frisco Bowl. What a name. These bowl games have great names. Utah State played Kent State, and I got this game wrong because Kent State ended up beating Utah State.
I also got this game wrong, and I'm officially like terrified to draft Jordan Love if I'm an NFL team.
Really? Why is that? Because that has flipped. Because I read Locked On Dolphins podcast. I read LockedOnDolphins.com and listen to the podcast every week. And he's been a guy that's been kind of talked about as like maybe a second rounder, maybe can develop, that kind of thing. So
see, yeah, I mean, I get that, and I won't go against that because he seems very toolsy to me, and I know that can be a red flag to me. When I say toolsy, it's like he's got a big arm, he can make any throw. That doesn't mean he will, but he can make a lot of throws. He's athletic, and it's just Felipe Franks is the same way. Mm-hmm. A lot of quarterbacks that they draft that were successful in college are the same way. That doesn't necessarily translate. I mean, I even think to a degree that Justin Herbert's the same way. Mm-hmm. He's very toolsy. But it's like, and this is a really stupid, unquantifiable thing, but I always say it, like, you got to have it.
Yeah, I get it. The intangibles.
I got to watch them intangibles. It's the intangibles. I just, like, when I watch a quarterback and I'm like, he's taking over. Mm-hmm. He's like, no, I'm taking. And I haven't seen that from Jordan Love in a long time. Granted, he had a new coaching staff, new offense. And so, I mean, I don't know. I have to watch him more closely.
I get it.
It's a red flag to me.
Mm-hmm. There's a reason that, like, there's an eye test that exists. Like, the stats and the advanced metric will tell you a lot about a player, but the eye test confirms those things or says that's a load of horse crap and this guy can't take over a game. In my house, we call it the Peyton Manning effect. Because I remember one time I was watching a Monday Night Football game, Dolphins-Colts, and the Dolphins actually were playing. We had a really good year that year. We went like 9-7, but missed the playoffs. I can't believe that's a really good year for me. That would be
a good year. That'd be a good year for me too. So
I know. We need to raise our standards, Tyler. Anyway, so we're driving. We score, but we score a touchdown to take the lead, and we're up like 4. It's like 24-20. It's like 24-20 with like maybe like 55 seconds left, and Roll and I turned to each other and we were like, that's too much time for Manning. And sure enough, Manning went doon, 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 and scored with 2 seconds left to win the football game. Like, it's those kind of things that you can just feel them taking over. Deshaun Watson, we saw it last weekend. He's the king of that. We saw it last weekend. We saw it in the Natty. We saw it plenty of times, both in Houston and in Clemson. Anyway, we're going on a tangent. The point is,
just something to evaluate. We're going to be talking about the draft a lot in the future.
Exactly.
I mean, if you can draft Jordan Love to a position where he doesn't have to play early, perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm much more on board with that.
Agreed.
And moving on.
We got the Celebration Bowl, Alcorn State and North Carolina A&T. I got this correct. We both picked North Carolina A&T.
Dunspern and I got it correct too. We're Dunspern and North Carolina A&T. We picked them again. They always win, and we always pick against them.
This bowl has been around for like 8 years now or something, or 5 years now, and I think they've won 4 of them or something. Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know. All right. I think also the winners here, whoever picked the over, because this game had a combined 108 points.
Jesus.
All right. Next bowl up, New Mexico Bowl, Central Michigan. The Chippewas, led by Jim McElwain, went up against San Diego State, and San Diego State took care of business 48-11. I got this game right because ain't no way I'm picking Jim McElwain.
I learned my lesson, and I also got this game right.
Well done, Tyler. Next up is the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl, played at Orlando City Stadium. I kind of saw this game for 10 minutes. It looked great, like the camera angle in a soccer stadium. It looked so intimate. I loved it. Liberty ends up beating Georgia Southern 23-16. I got it right. I know you got it wrong because you picked the Georgia Southern triple option. And I said, Hugh Freeze coaching from a hospital bed is nothing to mess with, good sir.
I wish I would have listened. I wish I would have listened.
I also wish you would have listened for the Cherry Bundy Boca Raton Bowl, where you picked SMU, who ended up losing to my faithful 11-win FAU Owls, 52-28. FAU won this football game, missing 4 starters, 3 to academic suspensions, 1 to an injury, and they didn't even have Lane Kiffin.
Isn't that curious how all these suspensions come out right after Lane Kiffin leaves?
It's because the semester ended.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, right, whatever. And we're missing a coach. Come on now. Here's my thing. #RankFAU.
Yeah.
Rank it
I
top.
mean, I'm not against it.
You don't think a 24 or 25 is justifiable at the end of the year in the AP?
I just said I'm not against
That's
it.
what I'm saying. You were against us when you picked major picks.
You're damn right I was. I didn't. It's a testament to the culture that Lane Kiffin has built at Florida Atlantic University.
You sound like an Ole Miss fan. Really.
Hoot hoot, go Owls!
Go. All right, next up.
Get a burner phone, coach. Moving on.
Yo, he gave the baby right back once he said that. That was the best thing. It
was a good weekend for Florida Atlantic fans because
it was great
of that game and the next game we're going to talk about.
It was phenomenal. And they were back to back. It was great. The Camellia Bowl. FIU ended up losing to Arkansas State 34-26. I picked Arkansas State.
So did I.
We're both geniuses. That's why.
Yeah. And they deserve it too.
They do. They do deserve it. Next up is the Mitsubishi Motors Las Vegas Bowl, also known as the Doug Peterson Bowl, where Boise State ended up getting... Did I say Doug Peterson? I meant Chris Peterson. I'm so sorry.
There you go.
I apologize profusely to you, Tyler. I will never make that mistake again.
just keep talking.
Sorry. Eagles fans everywhere are crying. Boise State ends up losing to Washington State. I'm like, Washington, what's wrong with me today?
What is going on with you, man?
Washington beats
Washington Huskies beat Boise State Broncos 38-7.
Thank you, Tyler.
Sending Chris Peterson out with a win over his former team.
Just take it away, Tyler. We both picked Washington.
Also, Jacob Eason also declared for the draft. We never talked about that
because I disagree with it.
I think it was a mistake.
I think it was a mistake too.
I think it was an absolute mistake.
He's going to go in the fourth. He's going to go he's a day 3 quarterback now. He could have been a day 2 or day 1 quarterback.
He's got so much potential. He's another one of those guys that and I've seen a lot more moments from him early on in his career.
I'll tell you what, those intangibles, and it might sound horrible, but I have more trust in Jacob Eason's intangibles than I do not just Jordan Love's, but I do Justin Herbert's intangibles.
I do too. And I still think that I really wanted to see a senior season from him because this was so up and down.
I know he could have done so well. We were robbed. We college football fans were robbed of this, Tyler.
Yeah, and now the Pac-12 North is basically up in the air to me.
Yeah.
I would because if Jacob Eason comes back, I would have been I think Washington's the clear-cut favorite. And now I have no clue because I don't know who the quarterback at Washington is anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know who the quarterback in any of these teams are.
Well, yeah, Oregon's losing.
Cal's winning the Pac-12 North next season. We'll talk about it in just a second.
#why not? The R+L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. App State ends up beating UAB 31-17. Well done, App State.
Good job, App State.
And they were 12-1.
They were 12-1. #rank App State.
They are. They're 20th.
Rank them higher.
I support.
Cowards.
I support. All right, that was all on that last Saturday. I ended up getting all those Saturday, December 21st games correct. I should have parlayed them and won a lot of money. Allegedly. Next up, we got the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, which featured UCF shellacking Marshall in one of the most
predictable thing that everyone knew this was going to happen.
It was just too easy to pick. All right, next up, I think we want to talk about this game, is the SoFi Hawaii Bowl. We got our Hawaii Rainbow Warriors ended up going and getting 10 wins on the season, 38-34 over BYU.
The elusive 10-5 record.
The elusive 10-5, but also Tyler, what an ending to this football game.
This was the first truly great game that we got.
Yeah, I agree.
There were some other good ones.
This was it.
This was the first truly because it had the last second comeback.
Mm-hmm. Tyler, talk us through the comeback.
Hawaii was basically in control of this game from the get-go, and then they let it slip away because they kind of got. They had to stop here, stop there. They weren't moving the ball as much. BYU kind of made some adjustments defensively, and BYU started clawing back, and they finally overtook Hawaii in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. And then Cole McDonald said, "I still got to get back to my farm, man. We got to end this." And
EI game.
Yeah, touchdown. He throws a game-winning touchdown pass. It was an incredible drive because it's one of those things where BYU, you know that they're throwing down the field, right? Mm-hmm. And Cole McDonald just drops a dime on the sideline to go 60 yards in the first play. I'm watching it with my dad because I'm back home for Christmas at this point. And he's just like, "Are you kidding me?"
My
Literally,
favorite.
it's just like he looks at the BYU defenders. He's just like terrible.
My favorite part of this was that those are Hawaii's first points in the second half. They scored they scored the rest of their points in the first half. They scored 31 points in the first half and 7
keep
in the
up
fourth.
the momentum, man.
Got to do it.
But seriously, 10 wins for Hawaii. That's incredible.
Listen, the spirit. What's the spirit in Moana of Maui, right?
The Tafiti.
Tafiti. The spirit
of Tafiti.
The heart of Tafiti was really out there working. You know, he said, "We can't do this. This is a 10-win Hawaii team right here. What are we going to do? Finish 9-6? No, we're
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Oh my gosh, what a game! Something that you love to see was the walk-on Independence Bowl, where Louisiana Tech scored 14 points and the University of Miami scored not 1, not 2, but 0 points. Tyler,
we got this wrong, and I'm so happy.
I know I got it wrong as well. I really thought Miami was going to turn it around.
Which, by the way, Louisiana Tech is like undefeated in bowl games. I'm just false.
Are they? No, I know App State is undefeated in bowl games.
All time.
So
App State's undefeated all time in bowl games.
So is FAU.
Yeah, but Louisiana Tech under Skip Holtz is undefeated.
Oh, okay.
Like under him in his coaching tenure, they have yet to lose a bowl.
When's
game.
he going to make the jump?
Well, he is rumored to be a candidate for the Mississippi State job.
So we have Skip
I
Holtz,
hope he is. He'd be a good candidate there.
We have Skip Holtz, we have Jeff Collins, and I think you shared me a tweet that said the Army coach is also
Jeff Munkin, who I think would be a good hire.
Who I would like there. I would like that. He has turned Army around the past few years.
Miami, what in the heck? They lost 3 straight games to end the season. They were 6-3 at one point. Then they lost to FIU, to Duke, and to Louisiana Tech, where they got shut out. Well, the best part about this is that before the game, they had said that Danny Enos and the University of Miami had agreed to mutually part ways before the game. After the game, Miami changed the verbiage, and they're like, "We fired him."
They were like, "Not happening, dude."
No. We fired his ass.
You know what my one complaint is?
What?
There were a lot of projections that were going to put FAU in this bowl against Miami, and I'm really salty because I would have loved to have seen them just beat down. Yes, SMU was a better opponent, and the game was prime time as compared to 4 o'clock on this day after Christmas. But you know how good it would have been for FAU to beat Miami in a big bowl in a bowl game, to beat them like that. That would have been great for recruiting. Awesome. That would have been great for so many things. Anyway, moving on.
Especially in that area. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. All right, moving on. The Quick Lane Bowl. We got Pitt doing Pitt things and beating Eastern Michigan 34-30.
Pitt only knows how to play in wild games.
Pitt only knows how to play wild games and at the level of their competition, and keeping teams that do not deserve to be playing at that level in the game. I'm convinced if we got a team together from our group of friends, we got a team together, Pitt would play down to our level. I'm convinced. They would win. But they would win they would play to our level.
It's going to be a struggle.
It would be unnecessarily close.
Take the spread. Take the dog.
Take the points.
Always. Take the yeah. That I don't know. I mean, did you see the Eastern Michigan quarterback? You see what he did?
No, I did not.
First of all,
just kidding. I did see this.
First of all, his name is Mike Glass, which elite name.
That's definitely he's probably second team all American.
Yeah, because it's a simple one, but that's just so awesome.
Because he could definitely score a running touchdown and just go, and boom, the glasses shattered the end zone. I've already prepped it. You laugh, but when I do play-by-play for Maction on Tuesday nights in 20 years, it's gonna happen, Tyler. It's gonna happen.
Yes.
Me and Pat McAfee. It's gonna be great. We're gonna bring you on every week.
Speak it into existence, Sergio. Speak it into existence.
They're gonna be like, we're gonna bring you on every week. They're like, why is the producer on the? Tyler and I are boys. We got this. It's gonna be great. It's great.
That's amazing. No, he was handing out CTE to.
Oh my god! He was handing out CTE. Tyler.
No, my class. At the end of the game, got really, I don't know, something happened, and he just started smacking Pitt players, and he even almost hit a ref.
He smacked
the ref kind of embellished it, but still almost smacked that.
The ref went full Neymar. The ref went full
Absolutely.
Neymar. It like kind of glanced by his face, and he like went. I'm sorry for those of you who don't watch soccer. He went full LeBron. You should definitely get that reference. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
It's just.
that was wild.
Let's move on.
What an end to
Oh,
the football game. That was incredible. And
absolutely.
This is a game
This is
where
such a Pitt football game, just like everything.
oh I know. I was out with friends, catching up with friends. I was out with Orlando, Diego Josiah, Zach,
Oh my
Austin.
God.
I was out with them,
The
and then
crew
it
from
was,
college.
and I saw like it on the screen, and I was like, this didn't happen, did it? Oh no, it did. And I got home that night. I got home late, and I was eating McDonald's late at night, and I was watching sports, and I was like, oh no, he actually punched the ref. It was crazy. Great game, great ending. Pitt never change. Even Pitt is even like this wasn't even Pitt's fault. And it's still like a Pitt moment.
Yeah, no, it just it's Pitt energy, major Pitt energy.
Major Pitt energy.
All right,
Major Pitt energy.
let's move on.
I can't believe we're not Pitt fans. We have to be, right?
We kind of we're proxy Pitt fans.
We're proxy Pitt fans.
We're good for her, Pitt fans.
Good for her, Pitt fans.
Good for her.
All right, another team that's good for her is the Military Bowl, where North Carolina beat Temple 55-13. I'm gonna say it right now, Tyler. And here's the thing, where my team's going to draft a quarterback, if not this year or next year. So I think the whole bit of we should draft fill in the blank is going to be out the window. But I don't care. We should draft Sam Howell. I want Sam Howell on my football team.
I'm telling you right now, the Minnesota Vikings are going to draft Sam Howell in like 2 years once Kirk Cousins is out.
I love that move. I mean, I don't know if
you're
joking or not, but I actually love that.
He's only going to be there for like 2 years beyond currently, just because that's the lifetime of NFL gigs.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, unless you're transcendent. I just imagine they'll move on in like 2 years because his play will drop off. Mm-hmm. He'd be great there.
He would. Oh my God, could you imagine Mike Zimmer was that? Oh my God, am I going to be a proxy? Am I going to be a good for her Vikings fan in 3 years?
We'll find out. But yeah, North Carolina just beat down.
I counted 7 dimes. Like I watched the game and I counted 7. That was
like one of his best games I've ever seen.
It was phenomenal. He had 2 touchdown passes that were like. I think Aaron Rodgers. It was like a couple Aaron Rodgers-esque touchdowns. That was like, whoa, what is going on?
I'm excited to watch North Carolina next year.
He's gonna be on someone's fantasy team.
Temple is a good team, so like.
Yeah, Temple was good.
Yeah.
All right, we both picked North Carolina.
Correct.
7-6 Mac Brown. You love to see it. All right, the New Era Pinstripes Bowl.
I don't want to talk about it.
Michigan State beat Wake Forest.
I'm furious.
27-21. I don't want to talk about it either. I picked Wake Forest.
So did I, obviously.
We're moving on.
I'm furious.
We're moving on. The Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Michigan State still sucks.
Michigan State still sucks. Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl. Oklahoma State ends up losing to Texas A&M 24-21. This is a game I did not watch, but I was really jealous that I wish I did watch. I was at the Heat game this evening, so I couldn't see it. Tyler, talk to me. Was this a good game? Because it looks like it was a great game.
I mean, it was in the sense that it was close.
Okay.
So Oklahoma State goes up 14-0 early. Mm-hmm. And then Texas A&M goes on, I believe, a 24-point straight points.
Okay.
Over, a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. Just, casually breaking down the lead.
Yeah, no, it's not and then there's Texas A&M took over. Mm-hmm. Basically, Oklahoma State struggled to move the ball on offense after that because Drew Brown's a little limited, and they don't have all their receiving weapons. And Texas A&M slowly got those points back, and then Oklahoma State scored again late to make it a real game. Mm-hmm. But that was really late in the game, and you didn't know who was going to win it,
right?
But it wasn't quite as flashy as I would have hoped to see. Mm-hmm. Kellen Mond, I want to pull up these stats real quick. It was not a good game for Kellen Mond.
I don't like to hear that because that was my fantasy quarterback this year. And thank God that our college
for 95 yards.
13 of 19
for 95 yards and 1 touchdown. He did have 12 carries for 117 yards in the ground.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm not then.
Yeah, but this is an Oklahoma State defense that he should have been able to do something against the air.
That's true.
And I'm just not going to fall into this. I wanted before this game to build up this could be Texas A&M's year because Alabama and LSU are replacing quarterbacks, and they got the talent, but I'm backing off of that after what I saw.
Well, you never know. Maybe they make that weird leap that third-year lead.
Oh, give me like a month and I'll forget all about it. Like,
I'm gonna look at the recruiting class and be like, I'm in.
yeah.
All right, the San Diego. We both picked.
I got that one right.
I got that one wrong.
I got Texas A&M.
The San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl, where USC loses to Iowa 49-24. I'm not talking about this game, Tyler.
I mean, it's just like, I don't know how you do it, Iowa. I don't know how you do it.
They have sold.
Also, USC, you should be ashamed.
Honestly.
Additionally, Keaton Slovis was knocked out of this game in the second half.
What is it with USC and their quarterbacks getting hurt, man?
I don't know, man. I mean, they don't even run the quarterbacks, and they keep getting hurt.
USC's recruiting class is absolutely atrocious. I think they should be more embarrassed about that than a bowl game. This is the University of Southern California. Anyway, we're moving on. I got that wrong. I actually picked them. Who'd you pick?
I got that wrong as well.
As was. Iowa biting us in the ass as always.
I even I've liked the past 5 Iowa teams, but this one I wasn't about, and suddenly they put on an offensive explosion.
Yeah.
49 points for Iowa Hawkeyes.
I don't even.
Jeez.
Anyway, all right. One of our all-time favorites, the Cheez-It Bowl. Air Force ends up beating Washington State 31-21. I saw the second half of this game. This game was everything that you would expect.
This game played out basically. I mean, the result was different, but the way it was played was basically exactly what I expected.
Washington State scored 21 points simply because Air Force held the ball for 48 of the 60 minutes.
Yeah, that's about right.
And if you look at the numbers, it's like, what is going on here? And actually, the numbers actually tell you, oh, this team runs a triple option. And then the numbers, you look at Washington State, and you go, oh, this team runs the air raid. It's just how it ended up, and it was.
It's just exactly the way, and I liked it.
I wasn't even mad.
I got it wrong because I picked Washington State.
Me too. I also got it wrong. I wasn't even mad about that because I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to sit here and eat these chicken nuggets and French fries and enjoy this very rare occurrence of a triple option going up against an air raid. It was good. All right, moving on to playoff day. All right, so here's where we're going to get to the big games. We started the day off at the Camping World Stadium in Orlando at the Camping World Bowl, where Notre Dame ended up beating Iowa State 33-9. And I want to point out, I'm angry. Your boy, Brock Purdy, had a phenomenal drive at the end of the first half to basically almost tie the football game. And there ends up being, I think it was a missed field goal at the end of the drive, and it just wasn't his fault.
Notre Dame finishes 11-2. They were a higher level. They were on a different tier than Iowa State this year.
Yeah.
Iowa State has the potential to be Iowa State's one of those teams that they can play with anybody, but they just don't. Notre Dame is on this different tier of they're just kind of above that.
Yeah.
They're not elite, but they're just on the they're on the B tier. Sorry, they're on the C tier.
Because the A tier is the C tier.
The A tier is the elite of the elite. Mm-hmm. The B tier is the really really good. These are the Oklahomas and the Georgias and and I would even put Florida in the B tier, where playoff contenders.
I would even put Notre Dame in the B tier.
Yeah, I would actually put Notre Dame in the B tier.
I think the top tier is your bona fide elite schools. The second tier is your playoff contenders, playoff and conference champions contenders. And your third tier is those on the outside looking in.
And Iowa State's on the outside looking in.
Yeah, they're one of the better ones.
They absolutely
but they are on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it's just not as good of a season as it could be. Watch out for Iowa State next year.
Agreed.
And somehow Ian Book is coming back for Notre Dame.
See, is he Notre Dame's, what's our wide receiver that's 54 years old?
Josh Hammond.
Is he Notre Dame's Josh Hammond? I was convinced that he was.
I'm pretty sure Ian Book is the incarnation of, if you look at him, he's just the incarnation of the spirit of a frat boy. And you can't kill them.
You can't kill them, not even if you try. Not even if you try.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I mean, we joke, but he's probably a redshirt senior at this point, which is, good for him.
Getting his degree, getting his master's as well.
I mean, he's having a good season.
Take advantage of that. If you're I think he's fully aware that he's not going to be a first round draft pick.
He is the type of quarterback that he needs all of the film that he can get.
Yes, agreed.
because he measurably wise, he doesn't have the measurables that would make you go awe. Mm-hmm. So you need to see insane amount of production.
Right. I think right.
So we'll see.
And with that being said, we both picked Iowa State in this game, correct?
Yeah, and we were wrong.
We both got it wrong. All right, let's move on to the Goodyear, the first of the group of 6 games, the New Year's 6 games. Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, that was at the same time as Camping World game. Memphis ended up losing to Penn State 53-39, and it was not because of coaching, it was not because of playmaking ability. This game, Memphis lost to Penn State strictly because Penn State has bigger, more athletic, more physical players. And that's the only
physicality.
Reason.
That's
physicality.
It.
That is the difference between the Power 5 teams and the Group of 5 teams. The elite, the top of the top Power 5 teams, or the second group, like we say, which Penn State is in.
The A and the B tier.
The A and the B tier. That's the difference, where they are recruiting these big boys out here. And Memphis, while doing a phenomenal job and scheming properly and coaching well, just doesn't have the bodies to hold up. There's that one play at the end of the first quarter where the Penn State running back literally Marshawn Lynch against the Saints back in 2013 or something.
Yeah,
that's what he basically does. He runs over 7 defenders on his way to a touchdown. It was incredible.
Yeah. I mean, Memphis is still a great season, absolutely the best season in school history.
Yep, agreed.
And for not having your coach, this was a really good output.
This was a very good output. Yeah,
they hired Ryan Silverfield. We already discussed that in the previous episode, right. But good for them. And you know what? Penn State just different level. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on.
Agreed. Moving forward. All right, so this is the first of the 2 playoff games.
Oh boy.
The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. It was not a happy evening. Not a happy 4 o'clock slot in my house. Oklahoma ends up, I don't even want to say losing. Oklahoma gets embarrassed by LSU, 63-28. This game was over in the first quarter.
Basically.
It was
honestly awe-inspiring how dominant LSU was on offense.
I do want to point out, and I'm not playing devil's advocate here, yes, LSU was phenomenal on offense. Oklahoma was missing 4 of their starters on defense, including their 2 starting safeties. And then halfway through the first quarter, their best defensive player, their middle linebacker, ends up de facto pulling a hamstring. And he played through it with like a warrior, but he came back out. He was not the same afterwards. But yeah, LSU dominated. Joe Burrow scored 6 touchdowns, in the first half?
He scored 7 in the first half.
Oh, I'm sorry. He scored 7 in the first half.
Yeah. And it's absolutely insane production. I think a lot of it also has to do with that Oklahoma was missed a couple throws early, and they just got themselves in a hole, and then they just could not, battle with it.
Yeah.
I think another thing too I'm going to push back on this narrative that I keep saying that Oklahoma shouldn't have been in the playoff.
I disagree. I think they earned it.
I disagree, and I saw somebody put it out a really poignant point that it was when the playoff was made, it's not so that we have 4 national title worthy teams. It's so that in the seasons, because usually in a typical college football season, historically in the last 20 years, there's been 2 teams that are clearly above everybody else.
Yep.
This is to prevent the 2011 years, where there's 3 teams that are clearly above everybody. The
2007 year, where a 2-loss LSU team wins the title.
Well, yeah, the playoff is designed. Somebody put it really nicely, where it's not designed so we have 4 national title contenders. It's just so that we don't exclude a 3rd or a 4th national title contender. Because usually, if you actually look at the history of the sport, there's usually at least 2 teams that are the national title elite a season, sometimes 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. And this way is just to keep them out. I think Oklahoma definitely deserved to be there. There's no other team I would have put in above them. Mm-hmm. I just hate everybody being they didn't deserve it. And I'm well, who did?
Well, even going back to your reasoning there, it was created so that we don't exclude that 3rd team. This year, LSU, Clemson, Ohio State are 3 national championship caliber teams. So how do you find it out?
Last year, it was just Alabama and Clemson.
Right. And we were going through the motions in the semis. But then this year, what are you going to do? You're going to put LSU and Ohio State in the title game, and Clemson, the defending national title champions, who at that point had won 28 straight games over the course of 2 seasons, who have a starting quarterback who hasn't lost since his senior year of high school. You got to realize
he's 25-0 as a starter.
He's 25-0 as a starter. You have to realize that you have to include them. And what happens? You and I, who told you? Who told them? We did.
We're moving on to the next game, but we did. We were right.
Exactly. So nothing else to say
People
about
didn't want to
LSU.
believe.
We're going to go ahead and transfer over. Let's take a flight out to Phoenix, Arizona, where the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl was played, where the number 3 Clemson Tigers ended up beating Ohio State 29-23 in one of the most physical games that I've seen in forever.
I feel like every play of that game was like, I'm hurting.
Oh, my gosh.
In Florida, in Florida, I'm watching and I'm hurting.
Yeah. It was incredible.
The raw talent on the field, you could just tell.
Did you know that Trevor Lawrence does a really good Pat Mahomes impersonation? Or was that a Lamar Jackson impersonation? I wasn't sure who I was seeing out there.
Yeah, but Trevor Lawrence can run.
Oh, he can run. He can break ankles.
Man had a 67-yard touchdown run.
And he broke a couple ankles on his way there.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, they forgot about him.
It wasn't like, there goes the
Clemson won. The Clemson game-winning touchdown was a run fake by Trevor Lawrence that he popped up for a pop pass to Travis Etienne because they'd been running him all night, and they had done it to some avail, but it was kind of like, where's this going? And he pops up, they set it up perfectly because everybody on Ohio State was like, oh, yeah, he's running the ball.
Perfect play call.
Perfect play call. That drive, that game-winning drive
they had. So we talk about it.
It was first down, touchdown.
We talk about intangibles. This is a game.
Took over.
This is a game that we're going to look back in a year from now when we're talking about Fields or Lawrence, where I'm going to look back and I'm going to say, when Trevor Lawrence had the football, I was convinced. Let me put it this way: when Clemson scored at the end there, I said, oh, damn, I wish they would have taken more time. Because I was so confident they were going to score on that drive that I wish they would have worked the clock more. With Justin Fields, I didn't know if he was going to. I mean, he's a phenomenal quarterback. He's definitely.
I would draft both of these quarterbacks.
I would draft both these quarterbacks.
But I would draft Trevor first.
And that's my thing, where it's those things where I can't even put my finger on it, And we saw it last night, It's like when Lamar gets the ball. It's like when Deshaun gets the ball. It's like, oh, okay, I know what's happening.
Yeah, it's just like, I've heard Trevor Sikkema at Tampa Bay Trade, Gator Great, has this kind of theory that he's working on that I've listened to in his podcast that is very interesting to me. That it's like players that score touchdowns, it's this thing where it's just like, it's just what you do. And it's this mentality of like, this is just what I do. Right. It's almost like it's just like you don't even know how to not be good in these moments. Yeah. And that's the thing like with Deshaun that I feel, Deshaun Watson that I feel, and then I feel like Trevor Lawrence. And I feel like that's part of the Clemson program too, is that they treat every win the same. If you watch Clemson, they were dancing in the locker room after the 1 point North Carolina win. They were dancing after the 45-point wins that they had later in the season. Because they say that Dabo Swinney preaches to them, every win is special because you're not guaranteed any of them.
That is a culture of winning.
It's just what they do. They just go out and they win.
That is what we call a culture of winning. Yes, you expect to win, but you celebrate the win because you understand that it is not a given. You earn it, and you celebrate the work you put in to earn that win that you then expect. I know that was a lot of words, but it makes sense.
And everybody in the media is saying this basically. Ohio State, I understand your beef with the officials in this game.
I get it.
I understand it. But you did not lose this game because of officiating.
You lost this game because a wide receiver.
You had the lead with 2 minutes to go.
You were driving at the end of the football
game. And you gave it up,
game.
and then you were driving to take it back. And then Justin Fields threw a pick to a white safety. Retire. He was a 2-star.
That was me administering some last rites. It's a wrap, B.
I'm just kidding, Justin. No. I mean, Ohio State's probably going to win the national championship next season, but, whatever.
I don't know, man. As long as Trevor
Lawrence is alive in college football,
he is approaching. He's
like Tua, where if things break right, he could have the greatest career of all time.
He is approaching. If he wins this, okay, I'm gonna put a button on this, and we'll talk about it when we preview the game. We'll come back to this.
Okay,
we both picked Clemson.
We were right, and no one thought we'd be right.
We've been telling you for a little over close to 2 months now that Clemson's gonna win the national title game. Let's go ahead and talk about Tyler. Another phenomenal, important magnitude game. The Serve Pro First Responders Bowl.
Oh, yay.
All right, Western Kentucky beats Western Michigan 23-20 to become the superior Western in the United States.
Hell yeah.
We both picked WKU. We can move on.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler. The Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl, where Mississippi State loses to Louisville 38-28. Before we go into it, shout out. It's Scott Satterfield, right?
Yeah, Scott
Shout out
Satterfield.
Scott
Amazing
Satterfield.
first season.
8 wins and a bowl with a bowl victory. Shout out to him in his first year there.
Yeah.
We both picked Louisville.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. So the thing probably that cost Joe Moorhead the job is that like Mississippi State got out to a 14-0 lead, and then they let up like a boatload of points, and then they kind of crawled back a little bit, but it wasn't really close. And the other thing is that like if you watch the game, Louisville is scoring in ways that are not really like that shouldn't be allowed. Like they're scoring on wide open guys downfield. That shouldn't be happening.
No. Aren't there supposed to be defenders back there?
Supposed to be.
You would think.
You would. I mean, one would assume.
One would assume.
I mean, Mississippi State brass obviously were like had the same thought process. They're like, you would assume that there'd be defenders back there, but apparently there weren't, and that's not acceptable. But it just wasn't a great season for Mississippi State. And they did something about it. Great season for Louisville, though.
Yeah, agreed. Great season for Louisville. And we already talked about Mississippi State beforehand. Next up is the Red Box Bowl. If you don't know what Red Box is, it's like Netflix, but you got to go get the movie yourself, and you got to return it the next
Promoting
day.
exercise.
From my car to the Publix, from Publix to my car. It was Cal beating Black Santa, Lovie Smith, and the Illinois Fighting Illini 35-20. I picked Illinois.
Black Santa's hungover from Christmas at this point.
Oh yeah, he was. And I
Golden Bears. I picked it correctly.
Oh no, I picked Illinois, unfortunately.
Yeah, I picked Cal. And this game gave you the look of what Cal could have been if Chase Garbers was healthy the whole season.
Tyler looks like he just drank from the Holy Grail.
I was so right. I said it earlier in the season that to me, at least in the Pac-12, Chase Garbers is the most important player in the country because he got hurt and basically took Cal out of Pac-12 contention.
Yeah,
and I thought that they really had a shot to win the North.
Yeah.
Because like if you look at them, they don't lose to any of the bad teams. Probably without him. They almost beat Oregon.
Right.
So I just think that he's the one returning quarterback on a team that has good coaching and good defense. If he can stay healthy next year, I think Cal could win the Pac-12 North.
Yeah.
They don't recruit at the same level, so I could clearly be wrong. But
we'll see. We'll have to see. Next up is our game, the Capital One Orange Bowl. The Florida Gators ended up beating the Virginia Cavaliers 36-28, a game that I was in attendance at. And I just want to let you know it was a home game.
Nice.
It was a home game. It was great. Had a great time. Most important part, shout out to Michael P. Ryan. That man got what he finally deserved. It's a shame that he didn't get to have the senior season that he deserved, simply because our offensive line was inept in the run game this year. I really hope someone takes a chance on him in the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds.
In 2 years, somebody's going to be really happy that they drafted Michael P. Ryan.
Agreed. I might take
high character guy, high value player.
Yeah, I might not take LaMichael P. Ryan in our fantasy draft this year, but maybe the year after.
It's just hard for It's really hard for like rookie running backs that were drafted at low points to make value their rookie year. Right. I don't know what it is,
but they
like their second year they're in the system and they usually make a value. But
I think it's just a matter of developing trust with those with the other players. So there's that, and then also Dan Mullen. I don't know if you saw the trophy presentation, but my man said at the end, he said, "I want to say thank you so much to all the Gator fans here for making it feel like a home game. It's so great to play a prestigious bowl, New Year's Six bowl game in our home state." And we are so very excited to put in the work next year. We will see you right here in Miami for the national championship game next year.
Put it in my veins.
Put it in my veins. Tyler, we're going. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously.
We have a place to stay.
No, I'm not even lying. I don't mean to gas up our own team and be an irrational fan. Just, putting the bias cap on.
Right.
Florida is like, if Jake Fromm leaves, because Joe Burrow and Tua have already declared, I don't have that much faith in Kellen Mond at this point. Florida definitely has without a doubt currently the top returning quarterback in the SEC for production standpoint.
We might
argue the intangibles of Jake Fromm, but if Jake Fromm leaves, Florida is the only one of the major contenders, I'd say, outside of maybe Auburn if you trust Bo Nix. I don't really.
I think it's a little bit harsh to say I don't trust him going into his second year. He has shown flashes of being able to do it. I think in the offseason he can develop a next year.
But Auburn is also losing a lot of defensive talent. I think Florida has a real shot to be a favorite to win the SEC next year.
Tyler, do we have the best quarterback room in the SEC now?
I would say so. Because you've got, in my opinion, and I don't know the level of other quarterback rooms that well. You know, they're not the same way. But, I mean, you have at least two that I think are starter quality.
Agreed.
I would say Alabama's close because I think Mac Jones is starter quality, and I think they've got some good young players, but I haven't seen them, so I don't know.
They also have Tua's younger brother, who apparently plays quarterback.
Talia,
who's supposed to be really good.
So I think Florida, building off this performance, 11 wins, Kyle Trask is returning, signs are pointing to Emory also staying another year, which is good because like in the last 10 years, we've had only one season where we've had the same starting quarterback the entire season.
Listen,
we're gonna happen. So
I want to put a button there, and we can talk about the Emory, and we can have an entire episode dedicated to Emory.
We'll talk about it later.
Trask, and we will talk about it,
we'll
especially
talk
close
about
to the
another
spring
episode.
game.
But great season for Florida, great way to cap it off. And you know what? Good game by Virginia.
Good game by Bryce Perkins. Good game by Bryce Perkins.
Like y'all gonna have to drag me off this field.
Bryce Perkins might have just got himself from undrafted to drafted in like the 6th or 7th. I'm not even kidding. He looked like a great value Lamar out there.
Yeah, that was I mentioned that where it's just like there's going to be a team with the right scheme and fit that's going to be like, you know what, we'll take him as a backup.
Yep, agreed. All right. Moving on from the 11-win Florida Gators, put some respect on our name. We go to the Belk Bowl, which I think it's the last Belk Bowl.
The last ever Belk Bowl.
And you know what? The Belk Bowl goes out in style because Kentucky ends up
What
beating
a way
Virginia
to
Tech
end it.
37-30. Oh my gosh. Incredible. Lynn Bowden Jr. He punches a Virginia Tech player before the game, and then he ends up just running all over this team. He ends up scoring a touchdown, and he waves at the player as he scores.
Amazing.
It was
he also threw the game-winning touchdown pass.
It was just the biggest flex of all time.
Honestly, what this has got to be. I know last season was one of the greatest seasons in Kentucky football history.
Mm-hmm.
This has got to be Mark Stoops' best coaching job.
Are you kidding me? Lynn Bowden Jr. is the people's Heisman.
Absolutely.
100%. Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow, blah, blah, blah. Lynn Bowden Jr. is the people's Heisman.
Yeah.
And Mark deserves a statue in Kentucky next to the Mark Stoops statue.
I mean, Mark Stoops got a statue as soon as he beat Florida.
That's very true.
But, like, I'm very proud of Mark Stoops on a personal level of just, like, sticking with Kentucky and being like, I like it here. I've built something here. Mm-hmm. And his players love him, and they're on a roll.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm terrified to play them next year.
I am as well, because when they get Joey Gatewood
stop.
He might sit a year.
I totally forgot about that.
Well, I don't know if he's sitting a year or not. I'm not sure if he can get.
We'll talk about that in the offseason.
We'll talk about it in the offseason, but keep an eye out. Next up is the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, not the Frosted Flakes Bowl, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Arizona State ends up beating Florida State 20-14. You love to see it.
As was foretold.
As was projected, as was predicted. We don't have to.
James Blackman had 4 interceptions in this game. I'm going to move on.
I love it. Next game, we're not going to step on Florida State while they're down. We might spit on them and walk away, but we don't step on them. We got the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Navy ends up beating Kansas State 20-17 in a good football game.
A very good football game.
I didn't get a chance to see this live, but I definitely saw the highlights, and I enjoyed what I saw.
I saw it live, and good football game. Another one of those, like, it just was so slow.
Yeah.
Good game by Kansas State. Great drive at the end by Navy to get the game-winning field goal when it was tied.
Agreed.
I picked Kansas State. I was wrong. Don't feel bad about it, though, because it was a very close game.
I picked Navy because they didn't let me down in the Army-Navy game. Therefore, I had to ride with them one more time.
You just had to bring it up.
I was rewarded. I haven't changed my Twitter bio yet. I'm waiting for the right moment.
Well, okay. We'll continue. Next game.
Okay, next game. The Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl, where Wyoming ends up beating Georgia State 38-17. I ended up going with Wyoming, so I got this one wrong.
I went with Georgia State, so I got this one wrong as well.
Oh, you got this. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Wyoming won 38-17.
I went with Georgia State. Wyoming won. I got it wrong.
Yeah.
It's in red on my laptop.
Okay, yeah. It's in red on mine, too. You know what? It's okay. Still Georgia State Panthers all the way.
Arguably.
See, this next game is the one that I'm furious at.
So here's the thing. This next game, the Valero Alamo Bowl, where Utah lost to Texas 38-10, made me the most frustrated of all the college football games I've seen this whole bowl season.
Because Utah is such a better team.
I was genuinely angry. I was at Outback Steakhouse, and there's a story behind that where my stepmom wanted to take us to get El Salvadorian food. She called the place. They said, we close at 8, so we pull up at 6:30. And they said, no, we close at 6. And my stepmom was like, are you kidding me? I literally called you to ask. She was pissed. The only place open was Outback, so we went to dinner. My dad was working, so just my sister, my brother, my stepmom, and my grandmother and aunt. And I'm watching the game while I'm at Outback eating a bloomin' onion, which we'll get to in a second. Freaking Auburn. Gus Malzahn costed me a bloomin' onion. I don't know which one I'm more angry about. The fact that Utah just like pulled their pants down and pooped on the field, or the fact that Gus Malzahn cost us a bloomin' onion?
It's definitely the second one for me.
Okay.
But
anyway, Utah was not the team that they were all season today.
They didn't show up
at all. This was shades of Alabama.
I swear, if people fall into the Texas trap again,
you know who's going to fall into the Texas trap again? Texas.
Yeah, they're going to take. Oh, we beat another 11-win team this year. Just
Utah, why?
Texas is always so motivated for these games, and they always catch teams. They catch teams that don't want to be there.
Tyler, it's just like last year. They caught a Georgia team that didn't care. It's like when Oklahoma caught that Alabama team that didn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that like, when they beat an SEC team, it doesn't matter. No. These individual football teams did not care, and clearly Utah didn't care either.
I mean, still give them credit for the win. Like, just because not caring doesn't mean that Texas was going to win.
I will never give credit to the Texas Longhorns for anything.
All right, fine, whatever.
All right, next up, the
next game.
VRBO Citrus Bowl, where Alabama was actually motivated for this football game and ends up winning 35-16. This was close at the beginning, and then Nick Saban looked at his
Michigan, their first half was really good.
Yeah.
They really showed up. And then you watch the second half and you're like, oh, that's why it's Alabama.
Exactly. It seems like Nick Saban at halftime was like, this is Michigan. Why are we so close?
Also, yeah. Also, if you remember it a couple of years ago when Michigan was a lot better, and Jim Harbaugh and Nick Saban had that whole offseason Twitter beef about the camps. And,
the camps in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was basically on replay in Saban's mind in the second half.
Nick Saban is a master at finding things that no one really cares about anymore and then fixating on it to motivate himself.
Yeah.
It's like Dabo's...
That's why I think he always needs a hug.
Agree. You know who needs a hug, Tyler?
America,
because Auburn cost us a bloomin' onion in the Outback Bowl.
I am so mad.
They lose to Minnesota, who row the boat, love PJ Fleck, but they end up losing.
We should have known that Minnesota was going to win when they were at a stadium that had a boat in it. Friend of the pod, Ryan Urquhart, was there, and he was mad.
Well, he has family ties.
He has ties. I think, was it one of his parents went to Auburn, the other one went to Minnesota. I forget which one did.
I think his dad went to Auburn, his mom went to Minnesota, because the joke was that he was the only member that he played every other team in the family, and he lost. Like, he couldn't beat any other family team. Oh, man. Love you, Ryan. Shout out to Ryan. But Auburn, you cost us a bloomin' onion. And you cost me some points on this pick thing. I ended up picking you, and I
picked you too because I was team bloomin' onion, and you let me down.
Anyway. All right. The most... I read it on Banner Society. The most... shoot, I forgot what school they were imitating. The most Wisconsin game ever was actually played by Oregon in the Rose Bowl. That's what they said. I was like, that was genius. Oregon ended up beating Wisconsin 28-27 in a beautiful uniform game, might I add.
Oh my God!
Here's the thing. I think just
I want to go to the Rose Bowl so bad.
Me too. I think it's because the Rose Bowl is a sunset game, no matter what.
Yeah.
And because it's California, that the way the sun hits it, any uniform looks good. But this was a phenomenal uniform game. Oregon ends up winning 28-27. This was a good football game.
Good football game. I think Wisconsin had like a better game plan and better execution, but Oregon won the right plays.
Right.
They got turnovers. One of their touchdowns was a special teams touchdown. So it was Wisconsin's. Wisconsin had a kick return touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But both of these teams were really good. And I don't know. Oregon had, I don't know what it was. They just had that extra gear.
They had, you know what they had?
Justin Herbert had 3 rushing touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, exactly. They had a superior offensive line. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's true. Wisconsin, good game on them too. Mm-hmm. Jack Cohn still impresses me.
Is he coming? He's a junior. Going to be a junior next year, right?
I think he's going to be either a junior or a senior.
He's going to come back. We'll see him next year.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is
good game by Oregon.
Yeah,
very fun to watch.
The final New Year's Six Bowl is the All-State Sugar Bowl, where Georgia ends up beating Baylor 26-14
in a terrible game.
In a horrible game. I ended up watching the fourth quarter. I was traveling for a family thing, and I saw the fourth quarter when I got to the hotel, and I was just. I picked Baylor. There's nothing to talk about this game.
Same. I didn't think Georgia would be motivated. They were more motivated.
They were. I was very surprised.
But what can't be taken away is the fact that Baylor also Charlie Brewer went out with injury again.
Yeah, that concerns me.
Yeah.
That concerns me, seriously. And that was a bad hit.
Yeah.
He was laying there for a while. They had to go to commercial. You know when they have to go to commercial like twice? Like they go to commercial, they come back, he's still on there, and then they go to commercial again. That's a bad injury.
Yeah.
So, all right, next
last
up.
Couple games.
The Ticket Smarter, Birmingham Bowl, where Cincinnati beat Boston College 38-6 in a game that Boston College kind of wanted to be rained out because they got blown out again. So
it was delayed for weather, but it wasn't canceled like last year, and Cincinnati did exactly what we expected them to do.
Listen, not much to see here. We're just gonna move forward. We both picked Cincinnati. There you go. Last few games we got here: the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, where Tennessee ruins 9-win Indiana. Why got to be like that, Tennessee?
I don't know.
Why got to?
I don't know what they do.
But the story here is Tennessee's comeback.
They scored like 14 points in like 30 seconds.
In the final 5 minutes, they end up scoring. They end up scoring. I think it was like 17 points or something.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I was very impressed by Tennessee's fight. I still cannot buy into them as a good team going into next year.
That's the thing. Tennessee is
the
Texas
of
the SEC.
Way.
Tennessee's the Texas of the SEC. This win is going to propel them to then go, we won 8 football games. Look at the turnaround in the second half of the season, blah, 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 blah. And while with any other team I would believe it, I just don't know if I'm convinced of Jeremy Pruitt as a person who can lead Tennessee to be
They feasted on a bad schedule. Like, credit to them, they haven't been getting to bowl games previously.
Right, correct.
On a bad but they won against their bad teams, which is good. They have reached another level of being they're an average team now.
Correct.
But they're winning. This game was won in a very fluky way.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not I'm throwing this bowl result out. Sometimes you can when you go into bowl results, some of them you can read into.
Right, correct.
I'm throwing this one out.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Because Tennessee won in a fluky way. Good game. Very entertaining. Picked Indiana. They would have won if it weren't for a missed field goal. Mm-hmm. So, good season by Indiana, too.
Agreed. Next up is the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, where Ohio beats Nevada. I ended up picking Nevada. But the story here is the Ohio Bobcats coach getting a French fry bath.
I want a French fry bath.
I do too. I feel like
I didn't know it was a thing.
I would stay in the bath a lot longer if I was getting a French fry bath.
Absolutely.
Great. Right. Then we have the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, which, after what happened on January 3rd with certain geopolitical influences, seemed a little bit weird to see Lockheed Martin sponsor the bowl.
The world is crazy sometimes,
but,
isn't it?
This is not a politics podcast. This is a college football podcast. So we're going to talk about Tulane beating Southern Miss 30-13.
With a comeback, baby.
I picked Tulane.
Never doubt the uniforms, baby.
Never failed, baby. You know it, Tyler. I know it. Everyone else should know it. And then yesterday's Lending Tree Bowl, where Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns end up beating Miami of Ohio 27-17 in a game that I saw on the treadmill, and it was phenomenal. I was like, oh shoot!
It was very entertaining.
It was funny because it was like I realized I was like, oh man, there's no more bowl games. There's nothing big college football to the natty. Let's see what's on ESPN. I turned it on and I forgot this game was on, and I was like, oh my god, college football. Okay, we're good. Crisis averted.
Emergency stash.
Emergency stash. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, good bowl season.
Yeah. I felt like Dave Chappelle was like, got any more of them bowl games? Oh, man. Good bowl season. I got that one right as well. Tyler, it is time to briefly but in great detail, because we are very over, but it's one of our few podcasts where we're talking about all of college football. Let's talk about the Natty, Tyler. It is on Monday, January 13th, 8 p.m. It says it's on ESPN, but you can find it on any of the ESPN networks.
It's going to be on any related ESPN network will be showing this.
They're going to have a bunch of different ways to watch it. I personally would recommend watching it on ESPN2 because it's going to have the Sky Cam along with the regular cam, and you get the stats on the bottom if you're a nerd like me. I'll probably have that on the laptop, but I'll watch the regular feed on ESPN just because it's the Natty. You got to watch.
Yeah. I might have to be watching this at like a bar because I'll be moving this weekend. So
Tyler,
I don't know
that's
how much.
Not a complaint.
No, I'm excited. Yeah, it's going to be the Clemson Tigers against the LSU Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty safe to say that a Tiger will be going home victorious this weekend.
100%.
And also, this is the Battle of the Death Valleys.
I was going to say
and it's in the Superdome in Louisiana. These storylines.
And LSU's the number 1 seed, so they're the home team. They get yes, they're going to be a home team because they're in Louisiana, but like the home locker room and facilities.
Oh my God!
I really hope we get LSU in an all-purple uniform and Clemson in an all-orange uniform.
They won't wear it, but I hope they did.
But that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the game. What do you think is the biggest matchup to look out for?
In all honesty, the biggest matchup is it has to be the LSU passing attack versus the Clemson secondary.
Yeah.
Because Clemson's going to move the ball in LSU's defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to stall some drives and they're going to move the ball on others. Clemson offense is just too good.
Are they going to stall as much as we think they are?
I don't think they will stall as much as they did against Ohio State.
Agreed.
Because I think the adjustment period. Because the thing is, Ohio State was the best team they faced all season. I mean, Clemson was the best team Ohio State had faced all season.
Right.
But offensively, and additionally, Clemson. We didn't talk about this, but Clemson had to deal with T. Higgins went out with injury.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as T. Higgins got back, Justin Ross went out with injury.
Yeah.
Then eventually they both came back, but they weren't working with their full deck, and they've had 2 weeks to prepare.
And rest, more importantly.
Yeah. I heard someone say, and I liked this. Well, let me back up. Who do you think has the better coaching staff, Clemson or LSU?
Clemson.
I would agree.
Clemson. Dabo Swinney.
I think,
as much as I love Ed Orgeron, Dabo Swinney's a better football coach.
LSU is having, I would argue, one of the greatest single seasons of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Just with everything that they've done this season.
Right.
Everything that's gone into it. But I would say, as a team, I would trust Clemson's coaching staff as a whole more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if it's still – here's how I break it down. It is so important for LSU to get up early. If this game is still close in the late third, fourth quarter, Clemson's winning.
Mm-hmm.
I have a belief in that.
So do you
Clemson
think
knows how to win these moments? And also Clemson's staff, I trust to make those adjustments late in game better than anyone else.
I agree. Also, Clemson is a team that now, granted, this is going to sound a little bit, might be a little sound dumb because LSU is 14-0, but Clemson knows how to win. Clemson has been challenged this year. Granted, it was against North Carolina on the road. Granted, they did play arguably the game of the season against Ohio State. They know how to get out by any means necessary. I feel like LSU is this is going to be a weird analogy, but they're like the Houston Rockets in the NBA. The Houston Rockets know how to play one way, and it's fast. James Harden is going to score a lot of points. It's going to be dependent upon James Harden, and it's going to sit on his shoulders. But when you get to the playoffs and you play a 7-game series against another basketball team, they figure that stuff out, and they force you to do other things. I feel like LSU has been playing one way, and that is all guns blazing. Yes, our defense has been suspect at times. Yes, we've given up 30, 40 points to Ole Miss, but by God, are we going to outscore you? And I feel like when Clemson doesn't go away like these other teams have gone away, it's a matter of how they react and how they respond. I agree with you. I think the matchup to watch is going to be
it's going to be that Clemson secondary.
Joe Burrow and the LSU wide receivers going up against the Clemson secondary, 100%.
I'm very interested to see how Brent Venables prepares because I really think he's going to have something. Because you saw in the Ohio State game, if you watch, they start out playing. They played this season. So the last couple seasons, Clemson has been playing a kind of base look that they rely a lot on their four dominant defensive linemen that they had. Now, all those guys in the NFL.
Right.
They've got a lot of really good players, but they basically switched up to a more Iowa State nickel type look this season.
And it
because
rotates.
that was the personnel that they had that was better.
Right.
And they made shifts in the Ohio State game away from their linebackers, putting like versatile chess pieces like Isaiah Simmons, one of the best defenders in the country, moving him around in the back end to help with like stopping the run, as well as Isaiah Simmons had a pick in the Ohio State game. And like it shouldn't be overestimated that Clemson, Justin Fields played in 13 games up to that point. He had thrown one pick all season. He threw 2 in that game.
Yeah.
And I mean, Clemson's guys that they have in the secondary don't look like the Ohio State and the Alabama and the LSU type of secondary players that they've had in the past, but they cover guys.
And that's the thing. They're effective.
Clemson has the best defense in the country.
Yeah.
And this is the best offense in the country that they're facing. It's going to be a matchup to watch, but I've been trying to push back against this all my life. When you watch these games, you're like, it's oftentimes when the number one scoring defense goes against the number one scoring offense, in most things, defense usually wins. And I always been like, oh no, it's how are they going to do it this time? And the defense always prevails. And I think that Clemson's going to get 1 or 2 stops, I think, that are going to help them. And I really think that, I have to reiterate, it is so important for LSU to get up early and keep their foot on the gas, because if this game is still close in the third or fourth, I think Clemson's going to win.
I agree. And it's that thing where it might be the moment where Joe Burrow will have an opportunity to have that championship moment, to have that Deshaun moment, to have those. And it's a matter of, can he rise to the occasion? I know for a fact Trevor can do it.
We've seen it.
Can Joe Burrow?
And Joe Burrow's had a spectacular season. I don't think he's had, and I could be wrong about this, they've won close games. He hasn't had the Deshaun drive.
Well, if you think about it, the closest game was our game. Because we pulled away.
So closest game score-wise was, they've had basically 3 close games, I would say. The closest game score-wise was the Auburn game. They only won by 3 points, but I watched that game, and it was not really that close.
It wasn't.
Auburn killed them down, but Auburn also couldn't move the ball very much. So it didn't. The entire time I was watching that game, I'm like, Auburn's not going to win this. Additionally, the Alabama game, they kind of stayed in front the entire time, but they had to keep scoring to stay ahead, and they did that. But that's not the same pressure as scoring with behind.
Right.
Florida's basically the only team, I would say, that had a lead against them all season,
and has had to go and has gone toe for toe
in the second half. Yeah. And that was a game they didn't have to have a drive at the end to win it, but they did have to climb back to win.
And I think,
but they haven't had. Go ahead.
I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be watching that really, really closely. No, I'm with you. He hasn't had that, and
not to say he can't do it.
Not to say he can't do it. Not to say he's not a phenomenal quarterback. Not to say he won't have success in the NFL. But I haven't seen it yet. And in this industry, in this world that I live in now, in the year 2020, the year of our Lord and Savior 2020, if I don't see it, I'm going to err on the side of the person that I have seen do it, and that's Trevor Lawrence. I haven't seen Ed Orgeron win a national title. I've seen Dabo Swinney win 2. I've seen Dabo Swinney not lose a football game in a year and a half, 2 years. I've seen Trevor Lawrence not lose a football game since high school.
Remember last season? I don't mean to toot our own horn. I mean, that's exactly what I'm about to do. But so last season, there was talk that Alabama team with Tua was the greatest Alabama team of all time. Any contention. And if they had won the national championship, gone 15-0, they would have been the greatest team of all time. And we stuck with our guns. We had picked Clemson to win the national title in the preseason.
We did.
And we stuck with it. And we were right. Clemson dominated them. And there's a lot of off-field stuff that did go into that, with the way that with coaches wanting to leave Alabama after the game, not being focused. Clemson had played Notre Dame, and they admitted that they had spent half their time when they're game planning for Notre Dame actually game planning for Alabama. I have to imagine that also they had a division of the staff that was game planning for LSU.
I would imagine.
I imagine that they basically told all their graduate assistants, go game plan for LSU.
Yeah. We'll take care of Ohio State. Go take care of it. Yeah.
And I just, no one believed in Clemson but most people didn't believe in Clemson that year. We did. We were right. You're right, emphatically so, I would add.
And we stuck to our guns throughout the whole season.
I don't think that outcome is happening.
No, I don't think so either. It's
I'm going to make my prediction.
I was going to say, what is it?
It's been harder because after seeing what LSU did to Oklahoma, it's really hard to stick with. And seeing Clemson did struggle, they won, and they won in a very convincing way. Mm-hmm. They had breaks, but you can't give Clemson cushion and expect them not to storm back into it.
Right.
It's very hard to stick with it, but I'm going to stick with my pick from the preseason. No, actually not from the preseason, but from earlier this season. Mm-hmm. Clemson's going to win the national title.
I'm going to agree with you. I think Clemson wins the national championship. I feel like when they went on that run where they won like 5 or 6 straight games where they scored 40 or more points, and I think Trevor.
Their margin of victory was like something crazy, like
Trevor
38 to
Trevor had like 24 touchdowns and 0 picks, or like 1 pick in that span. That was a moment when I said, "Oh, Clemson has hit the level of you must have forgotten who the F I am." And I feel like this is that moment where they're not going to back down and say, "We've been here before. We've won that trophy before." Trevor Lawrence says, "I don't lose football. It's like something. It's not something I do." And I think the LSU. Thing. I'm not going to say they crater under the pressure, but I think the scene is set up in a way where all of the pressure on the world is on LSU right now. Clemson literally has nothing to lose.
In a way, it's weird. Clemson's playing with house money.
Yeah.
Like it's like there's one thing. They prove they belong because they beat Ohio State. Mm-hmm. It's anyone that didn't think they did belong. They proved that they did because they beat Ohio State.
Right.
And they're 20. They're like 28-0 or 29-0 or something stupid.
They'll be 30 if they win.
They'll be 30-0 if they win, which is incredible.
Yeah.
They're 29-0 right now. If they lose, great season, nothing to be ashamed about. LSU's on this cusp of like the Saints screwed up the state of Louisiana.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that. It sounds weird.
It's all on LSU to save this football season.
It sounds weird, but the Saints losing at home to the Vikings is either an omen or just like
it's either the best thing that could have happened to them or the worst.
And I think it's the worst.
I think it's the worst too. I get this feeling that I'm like, they're kind of like, well, now that it's okay, like if LSU wins, I'll feel better about it. And I just got that feeling where I'm like, I've been in that position as a fan, and so many more times than not, the bad things have continued to happen.
And you're grasping for that one thing to hold on to.
I've just got a feeling, man.
It's weird. I'm with you.
I feel it's a lot harder for me to pick this now than I thought it would be going in because like LSU has looked so good.
Yeah, they have. They're a great football team.
They're an absolutely great football team.
They deserve to be ranked number 1 this year.
Yeah. Do you think whoever wins this game has an argument for greatest team of all time?
No, I think the Clemson team from last year is up there.
I think the Clemson team from last year is right now the greatest team.
There. I think they are definitely up there. I think the 03 USC team is up there. I think the 2000 Miami team is up there. I think if LSU wins this football game, I don't think because of the way that they did it. When you look at that USC team I talked about, you have phenomenal players on both sides of the ball. When you look at the Clemson team we talked about from last year, you have phenomenal players on both sides of the ball. When you look at this LSU team, you have good players on both sides of the ball, but it's basically Joe Brady reconstructing Joe Burrow and getting the most out of these good wide receivers. The defense is not. You cannot give up 40-something points to a 5-7 Ole Miss team and not expect me to consider you to be in one of the greatest teams of all time conversation. I'm sorry, you can't do it. I can't do it.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think that if LSU wins, I don't think if Clemson wins, because this Clemson team to me is not as good as last Clemson team.
It's not. Yeah, I agree.
So, like, if this Clemson team wins, I still think that last year's Clemson team would be better candidate for greatest team of all time.
Me too.
I think you'd have to. I mean, if LSU wins, I think they'd have an argument just because of the path.
I think they'll be in the discussion. I just don't think it would be reasonable or just to put them in the top 2.
And we got to see. And the thing is too, you got to see how the game plays out.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think Clemson's going to win.
I think Clemson will win as well. Tyler, we are doubling and tripling down on our preseason prediction. All right, my man.
Let's wrap it up. And get out of here, man.
Wrap it up, Dan. that is it for this episode. Tyler, do you want to end with our patented tweets we've shared since it's been a long time? All right, Tyler, go ahead and show me your favorite tweet that I have shared with you over the course of the holiday season.
There's been a lot, but this one that you shared to me recently. It's by Cyrus Wittig.
Okay.
For my fantasy football punishment, I'll be attempting the Waffle House Challenge. This man must stay in a Waffle House for 24 hours, and for every waffle he eats, an hour is subtracted from the sentence. He says, please join me on this journey. And he goes through this whole tweet thread of eating these waffles, which I understand, like, oh, you eat waffles and you get less time? That sounds great. Like, that's a lot of waffles.
Did you read the thread?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So you go through the journey.
I'm learning that as waffles get cold, they change flavors, not for the better.
I like where he was like, I got a blueberry one just to kind of razzle up my taste buds.
Give me some spice.
Oh man, I like the fact where he was like, the morning cook is here 3 hours early for his overnight shift. Why are you here, good sir?
My faithful Waffle House staff went on a break, and I'm not in a good place. It's amazing. I think we need to do this in our fantasy football group next year.
I think we need to do that in
our group. Current punishment is that the last place person has to retake the SAT,
which is but who is it by the way?
I think Ben has to retake
the SAT.
I gotta confirm that, but I need pictures. I need a detailed description of how it was.
We need updates on his breaks.
Yeah,
full scale. I can't wait. I think we should do this. I also think that for the pod, for the brand, we need to do it one day.
There's a lot of Waffle Houses in Panama City. Just saying.
There's a lot of Waffle Houses.
Panama City has the most breakfast food places per capita.
I love that. I love to hear it.
That's a real stat.
Oh my god. All right. So here we go. My tweet. Oh my god, no! It just scrolled all the way down. Wait, it's not that far away.
Oh my god! Come on.
No, it just scrolled down. Okay. It is from Austin at Chef Trifle, and he is quoting a Baltimore Ravens tweet from 2 days ago saying, "Come see us at the bank. We bout that. #BigTrust." And it is a picture promoting the game against the Titans on Saturday night of Lamar Jackson putting on his shoulder pads with a pair of Bose headphones, and he's got the like quartered twist on his hair. And this guy says, "Y'all basically the Broward County Ravens at this point."
You really are.
I'm a Ravens fan. I saw two kids today wearing Lamar Jackson jerseys, and at one of them, I pointed and I said, "Lamar," and he goes, "Yeah." Or I pointed at him and I went, "Big trust," and we high-fived in the hallway. And another one, I saw him run down the hallway and I went, "Lamar," and he turned around and he went, "Big trust," and I was like, "Yes!" That's amazing.
I love that Lamar Jackson Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, and Deshaun Watson have taken over football.
I love it. I've been watching some like Madden like career mode like dynasty streams that go or like series that go into like 5-10 years in the future, and in all of them in like 2033 or like 2028 and stuff or whatever, all of them are like, and in the AFC Championship game, the Chiefs and the Ravens, Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, and I'm like, cool. So I'm going to see this for a decade. Awesome.
The AFC is going to be won by one of Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson,
or Tua Tagovailoa.
Or Patrick Mahomes. Do you want to talk about this year?
This year? Oh, yeah.
Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes. I guess Ryan Tannehill, but that's not going to happen.
Put some respect on that legend's name.
I'm sorry, but the Titans are not winning two. The Titans are the Jaguars right now.
They are. They're having a Jags-esque season.
They play a style that the Jaguars played, same thing the Bills did, that can win you games. It can win you 1 or 2 playoff games, but until you get a good quarterback, like a truly elite quarterback, it's not gonna get you to the Super Bowl.
Listen, the Bills were one Deshaun Watson away from being in the divisional round.
Yeah, and it's a great season.
Yeah,
and the Titans are having a fantastic season. It kills me to say it, but but I don't think that Ryan Tannehill is going to win the AFC.
No, neither do I.
But Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, and Pat Mahomes, one of those three is going to the Super Bowl. Black excellence.
We have Deshaun going up against Mahomes on Sunday.
And, Deshaun won earlier in the season.
Deshaun did win earlier in the season.
In Kansas City. So I am going to be glued to the TV this NFL weekend. It's not an NFL podcast, but
No, it's not, but it's exciting. I mean, what do you... In the other conference, you have Rodgers against Kirk Cousins, and then you have Jimmy GQ going up against Russell Wilson.
Also very intriguing. I mean, I'm thinking the Vikings. Kirk Cousins was good in that Vikings Saints game, so it could be interesting.
You
All
never
right,
know.
that's enough NFL talk.
Listen,
Let's wrap it up.
I'm just saying
Kirk Cousins is just holding it down until Sam Howell gets drafted.
the Broward County Ravens will win the Super Bowl is where I'm at. All right.
Shout out to friend of the pod, Grace Landfeld.
Shout out to friend of the pod, Grace Landfeld, an actual Baltimore Ravens fan.
before for a while.
Yeah, like before Lamar. Like she loves Joe Flacco. Like she has a sentimental attachment to Joe Flacco. Oh my God. All right, Tyler. Anything else you want to say on this 2-hour episode of Sideline Judgment?
I'm so sorry for all of you that we did this to you, but you know what? Bowl season and college football season slows down for nobody.
And the early signing day happens, my guy.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
We'll have a episode recapping the Natty when it happens, and we'll have more episodes throughout the offseason. We're not going away.
Yeah, we are not.
Don't you worry.
It's going to be great, and it's all college football centered around it, and the draft as well. So, Tyler, without further ado, this has been yet another episode of Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And we are not biased, but go Clemson Tigers.
Go Clemson.